Hey Met fans, Brian here with Mets Mayhem. The Mets took on the Twins in the middle game of a 3-game series. They won the first game 5-1. Tyler McGill took the mound for the Mets, looking to pick up his third win of the season, going up against the Twins' Bailey Ober. On the surface going into this game, McGill was 2-1 with an ERA under 1. Bailey Ober had an ERA over 7. The Mets beat the Twins the day before fairly easy. The great thing about baseball, each game is completely independent of every other game. So let's talk about this one. Francisco Lindor led off against Bailey Ober in the top of the first inning, and he grounded out to Edward Julian at second for the first out. Juan Soto then stepped to the plate, and he lined out to former Met Harrison Bader, who's off to a heck of a start for the Twins this year. Pete Alonso came to the plate and smoked a 1-0 pitch over the left center field fence into the bullpen for a solo home run. That's Pete's 5th home run of the season, gave the Mets a 1-0 lead. Sterling Marte, now batting 4th in this game, flew out to Byron Buxton, and that was the third out at the top of the first. So Tyler McGill took the mound in the bottom of the first inning. He's given a 1-0 lead. He got leadoff man Edward Julian to fly out to Brandon Nimmo and left on the first pitch. Byron Buxton had a miserable day yesterday. He struck out 3 times, and he continued that today by striking out on his first at-bat. McGill got him on 3 straight fastballs. He elevated the third one out of the strike zone, got him to chase, and that was the second out of the inning. So then we have Matt Wallner, who's one of the few Twins yesterday to have a good game, and he hits a soft grounder to Mark Vientos, and he's safe on an infield single. Unfortunately for the Twins, Wallner was injured. They need to bring a pinch runner on for him and Deshaun Kiersey Jr. So now you have a runner on first base, 2 outs. Ty France came to the plate. He worked the count full, and then McGill froze him, adding a little bit extra on his fastball for strike 3 to end the first inning. Brandon Nimmo lit off the top of the second inning against Bailey Ober, and he flew out to Byron Buxton in center field for the first out. Mark Vientos then struck out, chasing a pitch way off the strike zone, way off the corner, outside corner, just horrible. Got him guessing, whatever it was. He just didn't look on that pitch. Luis Torrens then worked the count full. He fouled back a couple pitches. Then he hit a hard line drive, but it was to left field right at Harrison Bader, and that was the third out on the top of the second. So now we have Carlos Correa leading off for the Twins in the bottom of the second inning, and he grounds out to his shortstop counterpart in Francisco Lindor, and that's 1 out so far. Trevor Lernach grounded out to Acuna, who got to start again at second base for the Mets. Catcher Ryan Jeffers had a great game for the Twins this game. He had a line drive single to left field, his first hit of the game. McGill was able to get the third out, though, and getting Willie Castro to line out to Tyrone Taylor in center field, and that was the third out, and that finished the second inning. Bailey Ober got the Mets in order in the top of the third inning, getting Tyrone Taylor to strike out, Luis Acuna to ground out, to Edward Julian at second, and Francisco Lindor to strike out. In the bottom of the third inning, former Met Harrison Bader led off and reached on an infield single to second base. With a runner on first and no one out, Edward Julian flat out to Nimmo in left field for the second time this game. Byron Buxton then hit a ground ball for a single into left field, advancing Bader to third base. So now the Twins have runners on the corners, 1 out, and Deshaun Kiersey Jr., who came on as a pinch runner for Matt Wallner in the bottom of the first inning, got his first at bat. He tried to drop down a bunt. Instead, he got under it, popped it up. McGill caught it for the second out of the inning. So now we have 2 outs, runners still to corners. Ty France hit a ground ball to Francisco Lindor at shortstop. Lindor came up a bit too quick. Didn't quite have the ball. It glanced off of his glove for an error. Bader scored on the play. So now the Twins have their first run. Buxton was safe at second. France was safe at first. 1-1 game. Carlos Correa then drops a single in center field, scoring Buxton. France attempted to go to third. However, Tyrone Taylor made a fantastic throw to Vientos, right on the money, and Vientos made the tag. France was out at third base. That ended the inning. However, the damage was already done on the error by Lindor, which would have gotten us out of the inning with no runs scored. Instead, the Twins score on that play, and then Carlos Correa drives in another run. Now the Twins have a 2-1 lead after 3 innings. Juan Soto hit his second home run of the season in the prior game, took a 1-1 pitch deep to right field towards the line for a home run, his third of the season, tying this game back up at 2-2. We have to be feeling good at this point, right? Lindor is ever hurt. Yes, 2 runs that should have never scored. However, we have an Alonso home run and a Soto home run in the same game. Speaking of Alonso, he was up next and lined out to Buxton for the first out of the inning. Sterling Marte then tried to drop a bunt of his own, but Bailey Ober was able to field it, fired the throw over to France at first for the second out, and then Brandon Nimmo struck out to end the top of the fourth. So we're tied 2-2. The Twins really should have 0 going into the bottom of the fourth inning, and Tyler McGill hits Trevor Lenach, leading off on a 1-1 pitch. Ryan Jeffers then hits what ruled a home run to left center field initially, but after a crew chief review, the ball actually hit the top of the padding and then went over, so it was ruled a ground rule double. That puts runners at second and third with no one out. Gives the Mets some kind of chance to maybe get out of this. And McGill got Willie Castro to strike out for the first out, so now we have 1 out. Harrison Bader's coming to the plate, runners at second and third, but Bader continues his hot start, hits a hard ground ball down the third base line. Mark Vientos dove to stop it, got up, bobbled the ball. He was thinking about going home, decided to throw to first. Bader was safe, so Trevor Lenach scored. The Twins now have a 3-2 lead. Runners are on first and second, still 1 out. McGill was able to escape further damage. He got Edward Julian to hit a ground ball to Acuna, tossed the ball over to Lindor, covering at second, who fired over to Alonso. So that was the 4-6-3 double play, and that ended the fourth inning. So going to the top of the fifth inning, the Twins take the lead again 3-2. Mark Vientos leads off against Bailey Ober, and he flies out to Kiersey Jr. and left for the first out. Luis Torrens, who had been making consistent solid contact, got himself in a good hitter's count, 3-1, but he lined out to Buxton in center field for the second out. Tyrone Taylor was then hit, so the Mets have a runner on first base, 2 outs. Luis Angel Acuna at the plate, but Acuna grounded a ball up the middle that Correa made a stop on. He had a hard time getting his footing, but essentially he shuffled past it to Edward Julian at second base, and he got the force out for the third out. Byron Buxton leads off with a line drive single to center field to get things started for the Twins in the bottom of the fifth inning. With Deshaun Kiersey Jr. up, Buxton steals second, moves over to third base on a ground out by Kiersey Jr. to Acuna for the first out. So the Twins have a runner on third base. They have 1 out. And France comes up to the plate and he hits a hard ground ball right to Acuna. Acuna is playing in. He throws home. It's a quick throw. Unfortunately, the throw is towards the first base side, and Luis Torrens has to kind of reach over for it and then turn to make the tag. And Buxton is very fast, so he was able to slide underneath the tag. He was safe. So now it's 4-2 Twins. Buxton went on contact. The Mets had Acuna playing in. He fielded it well. He threw it to home. He just didn't execute 100% on where the throw should be. It should have been directly at Torrens or to the left side, so it's easier for him to make the tag. But unfortunately, it wasn't. So Carlos Correa then came to the plate. He then needed to be pinch hit for. He injured his wrist on a swing. So now we have Brooks Lee coming on to inherit a 0-2 count, and he lined out to Lindor for the second out. Trevor Lenach then hit a ground ball between first and second. Acuna dove to his left. He stopped it, got up, fired through the ball to Alonso for the third and final out of the fifth inning. And we're starting to see routine plays like this from Acuna at second base. He's starting to get comfortable. We all know he's good defensively. He's played well, but now he's starting to make the more routinely excellent plays. Bailey Ober still on for the Twins. Brooks Lee stays on in the game for the Twins, and he takes over at third base, with Will Castro moving over from third to play shortstop for the injured Carlos Correa. Francisco Lindor now leads off for the Mets in the top of the sixth inning and hits a hard ground ball right to Castro at shortstop that dove in an attempt to get it, but it glanced off of his glove, went into left field for a base hit. Now Juan Soto flew out to Kiersey Jr. in right field, and that's the first out for the Mets in the top of the sixth. Ober then strikes out Alonso on an 0-2 change on the outside corner to record the second out. Sterling Marte then fell behind 0-2, fouled 3 pitches back before hitting a routine fly ball to Buxton in center field for the third out. So after McGill had been in and out of trouble for the last couple of innings, Max Krenick came on to pitch the bottom of the sixth. Ryan Jeffers doubles leading off to left field, then he moved over to third base on the ground out to second by Willie Castro for the first out. Krenick then strikes out Harrison Bader on a curveball down and away that Torrens does a terrific job blocking for the second out. But with 2 outs and a runner on third, Edward Julian hits a line drive to left field for a base hit, scoring Jeffers to give the Twins a 5-2 lead. The first run Krenick has given up all season. Krenick then got Buxton to ground out to Mark Vientos at third, firing over to Alonso to complete third and final out of the sixth inning. Bailey Ober still working in the top of the seventh inning, and he gets Brandon Nimmo to ground out to Brooks Lee at third base for the first out. Mark Vientos takes a sweeper middle top of the zone and goes the other way with it for a single. So now we have a runner on first, 1 out. Luis Torrens up for the Mets. Torrens then catches a flat slider in the middle of the plate and lines it into left field for a double. with Vientos moving to third base. So now with runners on second and third and one out, Tyrone Taylor was due up, but Mendoza then sent Jesse Winker to the plate to pinch hit for him. Torrens would be the last batter Ober faced this game, as Cole Sands came on in relief to pitch against Winker. Winker just missed one, getting under it too much and flying out to right field. He got credited for sac fly, scoring Vientos to make this a 5-3 game. That pitch really should have been crushed. The Twins will gladly trade that out. They'll gladly give up a run for that out easily. So after Luis Angel Acuna walked on a 3-1 pitch, that brought up Francisco Lindor. Runners on first and second, 2 outs, but Lindor grounded out to Edward Julian at second base for the third out of the inning. So the Mets score one, should have been more. They still trail the Twins 5-3, now going into the bottom of the 7th inning. With Siri being hurt and Taylor being pinch hit for, Nimmo shifts over to center field. Winker stays on in the game and plays left field. So now we have Deshaun Kiersey immediately find the Winker, hitting a line drive to left field for a single. Kiersey Jr. then stole second base. Now you have Ty France up, but the call was challenged by the Mets and overturned as Torrens' throw to Acuna was actually in time, and Acuna did apply the tag before the runner tagged the base, so Kiersey Jr. was actually out. So now we have Ty France up and 1 out, no one on. France then grounds one to Lindor at shortstop, who fires over to Alonso, that completes the second out of the inning. Brooks Lee, who came on due to Correa getting injured, then blasts a home run to right center field, giving the Twins a 3-run lead again, 6-3. So Danny Young comes on in relief of Kranick, and he does strike out Trevor Larnach, swinging to end the 7th inning. So we move on to the top of the 8th inning. The Twins brought on Griffin Jacks in relief of Cole Sands, and he got Juan Soto looking for the first out. Pete Alonso then doubled to right field on the first pitch he saw, but the combination of Sterling Marte and Brandon Nimmo came up empty again, grounding out to second base and third base respectively. So Danny Young is still pitching in the bottom of the 8th inning, and he hits leadoff batter Ryan Jeffers. Willie Castro grounds out to third base, so Jeffers then advances to second base on the play. Harrison Bader then hits a line drive that Francisco Lindor leapt, and initially it looked like he was going to catch it. It was just hit too hard, couldn't stay in his glove, so now it's a base hit. We have Bader at first, we still have Jeffers at second. Edwin Julian then hits a ground ball back up the middle, past the mound, but right at second base. Francisco Lindor fielded the ball. He ran a step on second. He fired to first base for the double play. The call was challenged by the Twins. Not sure why. Replays clearly showed it was a double play. I think they were reaching here, just, giving it a shot. Didn't work. Double play was upheld, and that was the end of the 8th inning. So now we move on to the top of the 9th inning, and Johan Duran came on to close the game for the Twins. Mark Vientos hit a ground ball to shortstop. Willie Castro fielded the ball, but he threw it away, allowing Vientos to reach first base safely. And then we had Luis Torrens grounding out to Willie Castro, who tossed to Edward Julian for the force at second base. This time Vientos is out, so we have Torrens at first, 1 out. Winker with his second at bat of the game, except he grounds out to a fielder's choice of his own, erasing Torrens at second base for the second out. So now we have 2 outs, Winker at first base. Luis Angel Acuna came up with a runner on first, singles up the middle. So now he puts runners on first and second, 2 outs, tying run at the plate, and Francisco Lindor. Lindor worked the count to a 3-2 count. Duran then threw the best pitch of the at-bat. It was a 102-mile-an-hour fastball. Lindor just missed it. It was the best pitch for him to do something with, except he just couldn't. He overpowered Lindor, and it's as simple as that. He struck him out. That's the third out of the game. So the Mets lose to the Twins, 6-3. Some takeaways from this game: McGill didn't have it. His final line was 5 innings pitched. He allowed 4 runs, 2 earned on 8 hits. Didn't walk anyone. Only struck out 3. Bailey Ober managed to keep the Mets offense at bay for most of the game. He was just better. Pete Alonso remains hot. He hit his 5th home run of the game in the 1st inning. He doubled again in the 7th inning. Juan Soto homered in the 4th inning, his 3rd of the season. Looks like Soto might be starting to heat up a little bit. Will be nice to see how this lineup goes with both Juan Soto and Alonso going at the same time. The Mets had some chances. They had 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. Winker just misses a pitch. It was pretty much on a tee. He pops up to right field. We get a sac fly instead. Could have possibly been a double to the wall. Could have been out of the park. But it was a sac fly instead. We missed an opportunity there. And then we had Lindor up as a tying run, in the 9th inning. He strikes out. So I'm sure Lindor is going to want to forget this game and move on. Had a costly error that gave the Twins 2 runs. Struck out at the end of the game when he could have, got us back into it. Max Kranick gave up his first 2 runs of the season. That brings his ERA up to a 1.54. He's still done fantastic. He wasn't going to fire blanks the whole season. Danny Young pitched a scoreless inning, although it was kind of shaky. So now the series is set at 1 game apiece. The rubber game is set for Wednesday at 1:10 p.m. Eastern. The Mets will go over a bullpen game with Griffin Canning not feeling well, going up against David Festa for the Twins. I'll be back to recap the game and provide any other relevant Mets news. But until then, Met fans, let's go Mets.